IKONINI. Now this is just basically a reaction to demonstrations that may happen leo, and of course leo ilikuwa ni NANE, and to some degree the demonstrations were underwhelming, but this was predictable, and it was predictable because of the fact that the average Kenyan voter is someone who does not vote for his own self-interest. So educating the voter is very important. But before we even get into the nitty-gritties za vitu zime happen, of course lazima tubonge juu ya KASMUEL, because kuna vile KASMUEL, there's a video going around ya KASMUEL akihepa makarao, and you see a few people saying that I think hata niliona mse kama anaitwa nani Robert Alai akisema I thought that this guy said that he doesn't fear death. I don't think the purpose of demonstrations is dying, because you see, when you die, you don't know that you're dead. So how does that end up helping the cause? The whole idea behind this protest is for better governance. And for someone like KASMUEL, if they're going to arrest you, especially on a Thursday, you can try and imagine that they need to produce you in court in 24 hours. The Kenya police will just say that they arrested you after 5 p.m. and they can only produce you in 24 hours. That means Friday 5 p.m. which akutakuwa na koti, so inamaanisha mseka KASMUEL anaenda amelala kwa jela till Monday. You see, that makes no sense. So he was within his rights to run away, and for me, as someone who's really enjoying the Olympics, it was good to see a Kenyan at least yani ule anaweza tumika kwa 100 meters hurdles, because KASMUEL aliruka hiyo barrier haraka, na hiyo inakuonyesha pia like one of the things tuko tunaenjoy RAPCHA about going to protest, because RAPCHA is much older and I don't think anaweza ruka viunzi hivyo. Yeah, so hiyo ilikuwa poa kucheck, but to me like just seeing KASMUEL still on the streets, knowing the risk that comes with, because being on the Kenyan streets to protest means that might be your last day on earth and nothing happens. This has happened over the years since Moi. Then after Moi, we had it in 2007, 2013, 2017, 2022, and now 2024. And with all this, there's just been a trail of blood. And all this blood, there's no one who's ever gone to jail for killing a protester. Yes? Unless I'm wrong. Just show me one person who's gone to jail for killing a protester. That's how much a protester's life is not valued. So KASMUEL was within his rights to jump and run away. And a big up to Nation Center and the Nation Media Group for like keeping some of the protesters safe. And because another thing that happened is kuna mse call out one of the local banks, anasema he was coming from a bank, akaona the police arresting people, and then he decided to record. And when he tried to record, he was still standing in front of the bank. He was chased away by the bank guards, and of course since he's a client akajidanganya ati anaweza rudi huko azuishe, and he was thrown out, and he had to run away from the same police who he was trying to protect someone else. So you have to understand that the revolution will not be televised, and it's not about people watching. It's also about you knowing that a lot of people will not join the revolution. But now back to the NANE. Kiasi imekuwa underwhelming, and it's been underwhelming because the opposition joined the government, and when the opposition joined the government, kuna wale watu who are saying Ruto must go, not because they actually believe that Ruto must go, but they were saying that because they felt like that's what their political leader would want. So when a political leader like Raila ends up joining the government, he goes with a chunk of people who would be protesters. And with this comes back to like Chukot Mesema earlier, where I've seen even Aoko ameandika juu story, because Aoko ameandika vile it's high time that people got a leader, like the Gen Z got a leader. And this is something nimekuwa nikisema for some time. Without a leader, hakuna plan. And without plan, such things will end up happening. Because a plan ingeonyesha, like a lot of stuff that happened after the 25th of June was because of lack of a plan, a checky. And but in hindsight, have the protests helped? Yes, they've helped. They made this guy know that it's not going to be business as usual. They made him form a mongrel government. That's how scared he was that he had to form a mongrel government, something that he had swore that he'd never do. So there's that side, but then there's the other side of we ended up overdoing it, and overdoing it in the wrong way. There's something that we lack ile the Bangladeshi have, and the Bangladeshi have the fact that they are united together in religion. And a religion, as much as I'm very anti-religion, it has a way of pushing you and believing that you're on the right path. We lack that. So since tuna lack hiyo kitu, ilikuwa hard for sisi kusustain protests for long, because watu wengi walikuwa like, we don't want the protests, we want to do business. But now it gets even more interesting, because if you see the footage ile may come out from today, the government that's telling people to go back to business as usual unleashed the police on business people. Kuna watu walikuwa wanachapwa, unapatikana umefungua biashara yako, unapigwa. Wanacheki, na hii ndio kitu sasa inafanyaga inakuwa very hard to defend like African governments, and especially Kenyan government, since I understand them fully. Like, you don't want people to protest. You want people to act like everything is okay. And then there's people who are acting like everything is okay, you end up beating them up. So how is this supposed to work out? Ukiwa chapa, like, how is this supposed to work out? So kuna watu wameenda kwa kichapwa leo, walikuwa wamefungua biashara zao. And but another way to look at the protest is Nairobi to some degree came to a standstill. A lot of people didn't go to work. The CBD was basically empty. So economically that was felt. But now the question is, how do we go forward? And the only way to go forward, I remember kitu nishasema kitambo, and I'm going to insist, inafaa kwa Occupy Parliament, then next was supposed to be Occupy a registration center, then Occupy a polling station. If you are to be realistic, Ruto is going nowhere before 2027. There were people like me wale walikuwa nasema hivyo, tukasemekana tumelipwa, but we were just being realistic. Like, if you've stayed, if you've lived long enough, you know African leaders are different, number one, and then the African protester is also different. African leaders are different because they are ready to be as violent as possible, and as they can be as violent as the rest of the world can let them to be. If an African leader could get away na vitu zina happen kama Middle East, that's what they do. But the African voter pia lazima uangalie. Kumekuwa na hizi jokes za Uganda, ile shot moja upigwa kila mtu anahepa nyumbani. Come to Kenya, the deaths at some point wagazina take a toll on us, and then we stop. Tunaacha kuishia. So asa wanajuaga hivyo, like, if they unleash enough violence on the people will stay away. So that's what happened, like, with time. So now we have to go back to ile kuambia say 2027 is not as far as people think, number one. Alafu we have to know this is an uphill task. It's an uphill task to convince mse ule ana believe that a tribesman of his being in cabinet means he is in cabinet. You need to convince that person to know that no, that's not the way it works. You'd rather have a cabinet that has no one from your tribe, but a cabinet that works for you. Na hiyo itakuwa very hard thing to do. So kama leo ilikuwa nasemekana Kisumu kuko na protest, kuna swali kwa sisi tuko kwa serikali, sasa mbona tuende tuandamane, tuko kwa serikali. So, and that's the sort of thinking that we are dealing with. Wase wataran 2027 bado hatujui. Gen Z walijidanganya wanataka to have zero leaders, zero what. So it means Gen Z want this mysterious leader to fall from the sky, because anyone who's stepping up to be a leader is being beaten down. So kuna wase wana question why someone like KASMUEL was saying that after today this is the last protest. It's the last protest because it takes a toll. We can't keep doing this and this and this. We need to retreat. Cheki, like, there are people who believe in the movement. I believe in the movement. I believe in the fact that we need better governance. But pia mimi na feel like no, tukiendelea kuifanya na inakuwa less and less impactful, with time itaisha power kabisa. Tuna need to go back to relax kidogo, then tuanze ku-strategize. Na ku-strategize ni tujue this guy is going to get the tribal vote that he relies on. So how, if we get another guy who's also coming with this tribal vote, how do we tilt it to this other guy? Because president serving one term would be very helpful to Kenya, because itafanya wasawajue like it's about the people. But if presidents are guaranteed of 2 terms, it becomes a problem. And voting out a president after 1 term is possible. Tulicheki what happened in Liberia. George Weah was supposed to be whatever, na bado alitolewa, and an older dude even came on board. Tukaona pia what happened in Senegal. All this show that it's possible to change. But we have to know we are working with an electorate that's illiterate to some level, and then an electorate that has been conditioned to believe that poverty is normal and to believe that the only way to get out of poverty is through prayer, not through better governance. So for us to convince such people, it's going to take some time. But what we can do is we can keep preaching. We can keep the Twitter spaces need to keep going. All this political engagement needs to keep going. People need to keep calling out the nonsense that's happening. And yeah, we can see what happens, because right now umeona the way the politicians have started being arrogant. Unaona kina Sudi wanasema that if the finance bill was brought today, they'd still vote yes. The reason why they are saying that is right now they feel like ODM is on their side. And yeah, so you have to know this. They are back to ile arrogance yao ya kitambo. And the only way to tame that arrogance is through the vote. And through the vote, how? Don't expect a leader to fall from the sky. You'll still have to choose from one of the leaders that is already established, that can also come with a tribal backing. So akisha come na tribal backing yake, if they have better policies, tunampatia, tunampush. We push that person over the line. And then we see if that person can come and change the country. You see, and we make that person come and engage the so-called Gen Zs and the millennials, and to know what they're going to bring to the table. But apart from that, of course, another thing that happened today was journalists who were beaten up. And there's literally a video that was going around. Jika tutaweza kuipata, but there's a video that was going around. A journalist tried filming a cop who was wakimanhandle someone, and the cop just cocked his gun akeka Nini alikuwa anaenda kumshoot, and that person had to run away. So you see, you'll still have the president come out, call the protesters criminals, and say that there are no extrajudicial killings and all that. So we have to know that this is going to be an uphill task. But still, I take this opportunity to salute wase kama kina KASMUEL, wase who are out there, as they say, doing the Lord's work. And also it's good kuona pia nani ametolewa, what's his name, nimeona like one of the things that has happened, Gaidho amekuwa released, and I hope that Gaidho at some point realizes the enemy is not within us. The enemy is outside. The enemy is bad governance. The enemy is not targeting people and saying they've been paid and blah blah blah. And so yeah, yeah, that's basically it. NANE kind of underwhelming, but still impactful because Nairobi CBD was empty. Impactful because roads were closed. So that means that it worked to that level. But is it sustainable to keep doing NANE tisa kumi? I don't think that's possible. But yeah, hii mwaka to make statement. So I don't feel like the Gen Z movement needs to feel like defeated. The only thing is it's time for leadership. It's time to identify a few leaders. And if a leader is bribed, you drop the leader, you get another one. It's not about that, oh, this person is going to be paid, this person, no. It's about better governance, and that can be achieved. And that can be achieved by people, getting people who we feel like are people of solid character, and people who actually believe in this Kenyan dream, and people who don't have bullshit dreams of being super rich after some time and whatever. But yeah, still big up to all the Kenyans who are involved in NANE. Personally, vile nilisema, like I felt like nilikuwa na feel itakuwa underwhelming because of the amount of violence that we've seen. Because you have to go back and see when the first protest happened on the 18th, the amount of violence ilikuwa kidogo. Then another one happened on the 20th, the amount of violence ilikuwa kidogo. After 25th, violence imekuwa ikienda juu hivi. And I think maybe it might have peaked on the 27th, and the amount of violence. But then even if kama irudi chini kidogo, but there's been a lot of killings, there's been a lot of abductions, and the first instinct of every human being is self-preservation. So that's why a lot of people who support the cause have not come out. But these same people should be ready to vote in 2027. So let's not use this time to call them cowards. Let's use this time to encourage them that in 2027 they make sure that they register to vote, and in 2027 they make sure that they come out. Najua, because these tribal blocks will still be there. Now it's time for other people to nudge it and just push it to another side. So yeah, hiyo imekuwa ni just a quick reaction to the happenings of NANE. Bado nikikuremind kuwa Rapcha the Scientist Raw and Uncut 3 iko available on IKONINI.LIVE. It goes for 500 shillings only. Baki mmesupport raia isiyo ya kawaida. Tubaki tumechekiniaje cause tayari ashaanza kuwa korogea Rapcha the Scientist Raw and Uncut 4 ile itakuwa ikihappen on December 14th. Bado tunatry kusettle on a venue but tutakuchanua juu hiyo. But in the meantime watch IKONINI.LIVE, yani enda kwa IKONINI.LIVE, Rapcha the Scientist Raw and Uncut 3. Vile susemaga tell a friend to tell a friend, hang out with some friends, watch this. Kuna msana anaitwa Frank amesema kuwa atabaia wasewa 3 tikiti. So kama una feel like poverty ya Gwan, sikuwa yeye ni msee unaweza afford tikiti alafu bado unataka hii niambia tu poverty ya Gwan na cheki sababu umeturushia ka email pale kwa IKONINI alafu nita judge why you should get the ticket. So kuna tickets 3 za ku give away. Nikimalizia kama kawa nikisema ekonene.